She stood on a brightly lit stage at age 13, her voice raw and fierce. The audience sat in silence as Courtney Hadwin poured her soul into the song. No one expected a tiny girl from County Durham to shake a sold-out theater in America within seconds. Today, we will trace her astonishing rise, the moment that changed her life forever, and the tragedy that followed her dream. Stay with me as we narrate every twist and turn in Courtney Hadwin's journey, from a hopeful audition to a heartbreaking accident, and learn exactly how her spirit carried her through the darkest period of her life. A 14-year-old girl stepped onto the stage of America's Got Talent, and within moments her powerful voice silenced the entire auditorium. That girl was Courtney Hadwin, and she quickly became a national phenomenon. But behind that stunning debut, the golden buzzer and the viral fame was a deeply troubled story few knew. In 2019, Courtney's parents found her in her room holding scissors to her throat, not to harm herself fatally, but to destroy her voice. The very same voice that Simon Cowell had once called supernatural. The voice that earned standing ovations and stunned millions. At just 14, Courtney believed her gift was a curse. She had already received death threats and endured cruel bullying. She had locked herself in her bedroom for 3 months and could no longer speak to delivery drivers, let alone friends. The same voice that amazed 310 million viewers had now driven her to research how to damage her own vocal cords. Courtney Hadwin was born on July 6, 2004 in Hartlepool, an industrial town in northeastern England. Her parents, Amory and Paul, lived modest lives. Her mother cleaned offices at night, and her father worked at the shipyard. At just 8 years old, something remarkable happened. One day, while listening to her grandfather's old Janis Joplin records in her bedroom, she began to sing. But the voice that came out wasn't a child's voice. It was raspy, gritty, powerful, and full of soul. It stopped her parents in their tracks. They thought someone had broken into the house. Even neighbors came to listen through the walls, shocked at the sound pouring from such a young girl. Doctors later revealed that Courtney had a rare vocal cord structure, which gave her voice a smoky tone that usually only develops after years of use or damage, something most people associate with decades of smoking. But Courtney had it naturally at 8 years old. While her voice was astonishing, her inner world was turbulent. Courtney suffered from severe social anxiety from an early age. Between the ages of 6 and 12, she barely spoke to anyone outside her family. School records show that in some years she spoke fewer than 100 words in total to other people. She wrote notes instead of speaking, even when she needed to use the bathroom. At lunch, she hid in closets to avoid interaction. Her psychologist said that her level of anxiety was similar to adults suffering from PTSD. Her parents struggled to afford help. Forced to choose between heating their home or paying for therapy. They ended up spending over £3,000 on treatment just to help her feel a little safer. Everything began to change in 2014. Courtney was 10 years old and entered a small local talent show. There were 127 people in the audience, and when she walked onto the stage, she froze. For 30 excruciating seconds, she stood still, hands trembling. Her grandfather, Bill Hadwin, feared he'd have to carry her off. But then the music started, Proud Mary, and something inside her flipped. She sang with wild energy and confidence. The crowd erupted. The applause lasted 4 straight minutes. Some people even cried. A video of that performance was uploaded online, and within 2 days it had 50,000 views. Bill, a retired steel worker, became her biggest supporter. He didn't understand music or the internet, but he was determined to help. Between 2014 and 2018, he drove over 47,000 miles in his aging Ford Focus to take Courtney to every show and audition. He kept records of each journey, gas, money, hotels, snacks in a notebook. He spent his entire $8,400 pension and even sold his tools to pay for a recording session. When Courtney had her first major audition in London, he drove $312 me and slept in his car to save money. Every act of sacrifice came from pure love and belief in his granddaughter. In 2017, she auditioned for The Voice Kids UK. By then, she had already been rejected from 3 local talent shows for being too unusual. Her vocal style didn't fit neatly into any box, but that was exactly what made her extraordinary. At 14, she was still painfully shy, barely able to look people in the eye off stage. But when she sang Tina Turner's Nutbush City Limits, her entire being transformed. She was fierce, fearless, and electric. One of the judges called her performance supernatural. Another was stunned into silence. Though she didn't win, Jess Foley took the top spot. Even Jess later admitted she believed Courtney should have won. Industry experts agreed. Some said her style was too intense for a family show, but losing turned out to be a blessing. Courtney was free from a binding UK record contract and could explore bigger opportunities. Fame, however, came at a cost. Back at school, Courtney became the target of mockery and online cruelty. Classmates made memes calling her the screaming girl. The teasing went far beyond playground jokes. It turned vicious. She was bullied in hallways, found crying by teachers, and her grades started to slip. The very gift that had amazed the world was now being used to hurt her by the people around her. Still, she pressed on, and her parents made a difficult decision. Living in a small village in County Durham, they had very little money. Her father, a joiner and part-time teaching assistant, took out a £3,000 loan against their home. They sold their car. They can-led their family vacation. Every penny went into getting Courtney to Los Angeles for America's Got Talent. They had no guarantee she'd even get past the first round, and things nearly fell apart. On the day of her AGT audition, July 10, 2018, Courtney suffered a full-blown panic attack in her hotel room. She couldn't speak or move. Her mother had to dress her, carry her down the stairs when the elevator broke, and help her into an Uber. Courtney vomited twice on the way to the theater. She begged to go back. Her mother whispered the lyrics to Hard to Handle the entire ride, trying to calm her. Months earlier, Courtney had prepared with ferocious discipline. From March to July 2018, she rehearsed Hard to Handle 247 times. She wrote it all down in a purple notebook. Her family turned their garage into a studio. She practiced for hours every day. Neighbors complained about the volume. She wore out 3 outfits from sheer sweat. One ripped apart. Another was stained beyond repair. She lost 8 pounds from all the movement. Her vocal coach worried she was overdoing it, but she didn't stop. Even with all that effort, AGT nearly slipped away. Simon Cowell's team had rejected her twice before. In February, they said she sounded too much like other rock singers. In April, they told her she didn't have the X factor for American audiences. They advised her to stick to local shows. But just 12 days before filming, another contestant dropped out due to visa issues. A casting assistant remembered Courtney and begged producers to give her a second chance. That's how she got on the show. Simon hadn't even seen her tape before she walked on stage. When she finally stepped into the spotlight, Courtney was visibly nervous. Her hands were shaking. She looked timid and withdrawn. But the second she began to sing Otis Redding's Hard to Handle, the transformation was instant. Her voice erupted, bold, raw, soulful. The crowd exploded. The judges sat stunned. Her nerves didn't disappear. They became fuel. Howie Mandel couldn't wait. Just 45 seconds in, he slammed the golden buzzer. It was the fastest in AGT history. He later compared the moment to when Clive Davis discovered Janis Joplin. He didn't wait for other judges to weigh in. That buzzer wasn't just a vote. It was a moment of television history. The world took notice. Her audition reached 1 million views in 6 hours. By the end of the week, it had passed 130 million. Tyra Banks later revealed the number had soared to over 310 million. The video went viral worldwide, not because of marketing or media hype, but because people were genuinely awed. Within 5 months, the video had 50 million views on AGT's official YouTube channel. Years later, Simon Cowell admitted it was the biggest mistake of his judging career not to press his buzzer. He said he was frozen. For a man known for being critical and calculated, it was a remarkable confession. Courtney Hadwin, a girl once too shy to ask for a bathroom break, had stunned the world into silence and then into thunderous applause. Courtney's journey didn't end with that golden buzzer moment. It was just the beginning of a new chapter filled with enormous pressure, scrutiny, and the kind of attention few teenagers are prepared for. Suddenly, she was being flown across the world, featured on major news outlets, and chased by talent agents and record labels. Yet, even at the height of this newfound fame, Courtney remained deeply introverted. She didn't like interviews. She rarely smiled on camera. Some critics began questioning her authenticity, mistaking her anxiety for arrogance or aloofness. But those close to her knew the truth. She was overwhelmed. Fame had arrived overnight, but confidence hadn't followed. Behind the scenes, Courtney continued to wrestle with self-doubt. She was hyper-aware of criticism, obsessing over YouTube comments and social media posts. Her team tried to shield her, but some of the hate slipped through. People made cruel remarks about her facial expressions, her style, even accusing her of faking anxiety to get sympathy. It became too much. She withdrew from public appearances for a time, choosing instead to focus on music away from the spotlight. While most teenagers were worrying about exams or hanging out with friends, Courtney was trying to survive a global spotlight that felt both electrifying and unbearable. Despite everything, she kept singing. She released new tracks independently, channeling her pain and experience into lyrics that spoke of resilience and personal battles. Her voice matured, becoming even more refined, but it never lost that raw edge that had first stunned audiences. She experimented with